And I think the important thing to realize is that there are some observations you can only make in space. There are some frequencies of radiation that don't permeate the atmosphere. And so for some, like much of the infrared, for example, and many microwaves, and so there's some observations that you have to make in space. And but having said that, you're absolutely right that when you send something into space, the technology you use is usually 20 years out of date, or at least 10 years, because that's how long it takes to build the satellite and test it and all of that. Whereas on Earth, you're using cutting edge technology. So you see this often catch up where the Hubble Space Telescope is able to do this, and suddenly you could do it on the ground too. But there's no doubt that if we limit ourselves to only ground-based telescopes, there are observations that we can never make. And so I think we need both.
That's fair.
How antiquated will the Webb telescope be? Because that's what he's referring to. One that's going to be James too.
James Webb.
It's supposed to go up. Yeah, it's supposed to go up in 2021. I think it was started to be built in 2016. When they start building it, it's been quite a while.
And it's not going to go up in 2021 now. I think it's been delayed again. I'm not sure.
It's been delayed. So how antiquated is it going to be by the time it actually gets up there?
Oh, well, I think it'll do the mission that it was designed to do. And it'll be able to see, and there's a good example. Because of the sensitivity of the frequencies, it's looking at light that's been so redshifted that it's in wavelengths that you would not see on Earth. So it's trying to see the first galaxies. And it is true that we're able to do a lot better now on Earth than we could before, but simply because of looking through the atmosphere that we're looking through, there's some observations of early galaxies we simply couldn't make otherwise. So the James Webb Space Telescope is a necessary tool if you want to ask those questions. Now you're free, if you're a member of the public, to say, do we want to ask those questions? And I think it's incumbent upon us as scientists to explain why those questions are interesting, because it's the public's money, ultimately.
I mean, I think it's interesting. Here's another interesting question I have, and this is my last one. Why are the magnetic fields? Yeah, I lied.
We don't trust Reds. Yeah,
that's the one.
He thinks the Earth is round.
Well,
I think the
ask it quickly so that because we do have after Reds we got two more, and then we have to let we told Dr. Krauss an hour, so we have to kind of keep it at that.
Absolutely, I'll be quick. Okay,
we got to give Bill a chance to talk too. Okay, so go on.
I'm looking at pulsars, and usually that means the jet is not aligned with rotation. So why are the magnetic fields of a pulsar and the axis of rotation not aligned with each other?
Why are they? Let's see. When you have a pulsar, all you're saying is that it's not that the pulsar is rotating, but it's wobbling at the same time. So it can be. It's like a top. It's wobble. So there's a rotation, but a wobble, and the reason. And so what you're often when you have a pulsar, something like that, is you're seeing the jet come out, but the jet because of the wobble, it only hits you every now and then. So that it's just like why a top precesses and rotates at the same time.
Got it. All right, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Reds. Appreciate that. Here's an interesting question from the Alchemist. What is the possibility that dark matter and energy is the manifestation of changes in forces or laws from our part of the universe?
Well, people think of those possibilities. First of all, dark matter is very different than dark energy. Dark matter behaves like matter. It falls into galaxies. Well, actually, galaxies fall into it. It's gravitationally attractive. We can see by measuring the growth of structure over time from the early universe to now, we can basically indirectly observe how dark matter clusters. So dark matter behaves just like any other kind of particle as far as gravity is concerned. It's not like some people have argued that maybe you could try and explain the existence of dark matter by saying that gravity doesn't behave like we think it does. And you can ask that question, but the answers haven't been very convincing. No one has been able to explain how you could have a consistent picture that explains everything we see under that case. Whereas if you take the possibility that dark matter is a new type of elementary particle, then everything is consistent. So it's far more likely that that's the case. Dark energy is something very different. Dark energy, which is the energy of empty space, which is responsible for, as far as we can tell, for the fact that the universe is speeding up and the expansion of the universe is getting faster. That is far, far less explicable. We really have no good theory of dark energy except to say that the empty space has energy, and due to quantum mechanics, but we can't explain how. So there, I'd say we could be more open to the possibility that some new kinds of physics might mimic dark energy. I still think it's unlikely, but I think it's more plausible there than dark matter. But we should keep exploring every possibility, because straw men are important to tear down.
And the next question is from Craig Humphreys, which I think is I wanted to save this one to be the last one that we read while you were here. And guys, the rest of the super chats, I try to get to the questions. The statements we'll do after we let Dr. Krauss go, so we don't take up his time reading the comments, but we will read those. But this question from Craig says, sadly, won't make the live show, so I'd like to ask a question first. Can you please have Dr. Krauss give us a tale about his time with Hitch?
Well, I've told a lot of them online and at his memorial service. I'll just tell one, but it's not new. You've heard me, those who listen to me talk about him will have heard this. I already told you one, which maybe you didn't hear because he's not there for the live show, and that is that Hitch was one of the most tolerant people you can imagine when it came to individuals. He would have people like Scalia at his house, for dinner, and they obviously disagreed greatly on many things. But for me, one of the more memorable moments, it was the last time I was with him at his house. I was sitting down at the kitchen table, and he was there, not feeling very well, but still there. And I was reading the New York Times. It was Sunday, and there was an article about the fact that the churches, it was about Yale, where I used to teach, in fact, and that there were religious people the church people who were worried that Yale students were losing their faith. And the last line of the newspaper article said, caught between beer pong, Hitchens, and Nietzsche, it's easy to go astray, or something like that. And I looked at Christopher and I said, how much more a part of culture can you be than to be sandwiched between Nietzsche and beer pong? You've made it. And I think that was a wonderful thing for him to hear about while he was still alive, because how much better can you be than that? And I think that was one of my fondest memories, was being able to read him that as we were talking, as I was at his table.
That's awesome.
So
absolutely.
Anyway, that's one of the many memories I have of a wonderful man, and a loss for all of us, of course.
He was one of a kind, that's for sure.
He was one of a kind. And I will say that I remember the day he died, I did a CNN, I think it was CNN, interview about him. But I remember telling myself that I was going to consciously try to fill some small part of the gap that was left by Christopher, and I would make a conscious effort to do that. And I did, and I have done that. I've made an effort to try. Well, I can't be Christopher, and no one can fill the gap that he left. But I've tried to at least do my part and be motivated every day by, as I often say, what would Christopher do? And so I try to do that. There are days that I don't make it, but I try, and we'll continue to try. And I want to end in that sense by saying, by again promoting these new endeavors that I'm very excited about, that we're going to continue. I'm going to continue to carry on the work I've been doing through the New Origins Project Foundation, this nonprofit foundation. And I hope people will go to the website, originsprojectfoundation.org, and see what we're up to, and maybe eventually donate money, because that's the way we'll survive. And then through the related program of the Origins Project, the podcast will help be able to reach a lot more people in different ways. So I hope to continue the efforts I've been doing to try and carry science and reason and motivate people to wonder and be excited about the universe through those two new projects, which I'm taking on, and along with a wonderful group of advisors and a board of directors and eventually staff. And so I'm very excited about the future. And of course, you never know what the future will bring. But I did want to take advantage of this program actually to announce those things for the first time.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that he would be Hitchens would be very proud of you. I think he'd be very happy with the work that you do, and
he
glad to see
held
the
me on
Origins
too high a
project.
pedestal.
Yep.
What was that?
So I'm glad to see the Origins project continue. So that's awesome.
That's what I felt. The Origins project did so much for so many people that I did not want to let it die, and I'm very excited to be carrying it on as a separate entity, and in some ways with a lot more flexibility and freedom than we had before. So it will continue. Its mission will continue, and I think we'll do bigger and better things. And it'll be a new experience for me, just as the podcast will. But I've tried to change. I've moved from universities every 10 or 12 years, and so it's nice. This is a new change, and it, like all change, it's a little bit scary, but I'm excited about the future.
Bill, did you want to? I know that we're.
We could continue after Lawrence has to go if you'd like, but I just want to say I'm honored to be on the show with you, and thank you for responding to my emails. And we talked a bit about what we would talk about on the show, and I think I see you as up there, with you're up there with Richard Dawkins and Neil deGrasse Tyson and people like that, and I'm kind of at the other end of the spectrum where I'm the grassroots guy, volunteering.
I admire what you do tremendously.
I was never a professional scientist, but my life went in a different direction. But now, as somebody with a real interest in science and science education, I have the time now. At this stage of my life now, I have the time now.
It's wonderful what you're doing, and you should belittle it.
To do that. So yeah. No, I'm not. I want to really encourage other people to do that. So it's just
if you can do it,
a wonderful experience.
It's very satisfying. Mm-hmm. It's very satisfying to and I started speaking to small groups and going to my daughter's classes and speak in small things, and it's very satisfying to have an impact where you can see people's faces. I'm fortunate now, and I have been fortunate, at least up to now, to have a large soapbox, and I try and take and realize that gives me an opportunity and also responsibility. But all of us can have an impact, and the work you're doing is very important. And I admire and respect what you're doing.
We'll keep in contact, and if there's things, thank you. There's things that we can do, for the Origins Project, do at a local level. That would be
okay. Great. That'd be great. And the Origins Project is going to try and reach into schools. We don't know all the places we're going to get involved, and so I'd love to keep in contact. And and the original events will be in Phoenix, but we're going to try and do things on a broader base.
Well, that's good for me because I'm in Mesa.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, and then you'll be able to participate in those things directly. I guess I'll say goodbye to you all now, and thanks for having me on the program, and keep up the good work. Okay.
Yeah. Let me just say how much of an honor it is. This was an absolute pleasure. I want to thank everybody. I really want to thank you and everybody who watches these things. We have a great opportunity. We have great guests like you. We've had Dr. Hugh Ross, Leonard Knoll, just amazing, Dr. Sykes-Gart, and this is one of my favorite types of discussions to be had. So you have no idea what kind of mental this was for me. This was just amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
We'd love to have you back sometime.
Thanks. Well, I enjoyed it too. Okay, you take care.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Krauss.
Dr. Krauss.
Bye-bye.
And we'll stick around so we can kind of dive into what Bill's got going on a little bit more detail. I know he's got some things that he wanted to touch on. Bill?
Yeah, sure. Well, again, my website is creationsciencefiction.com. So a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about, you'll be able to see there. A lot of the stuff that's, with creationists. My website, and then also my there's a link to my YouTube channel in the video description here. So I'm also working on some other projects. One of my big things is to try to bring awareness of citizen science and what it is, the benefits it can have, and the dictionary definition of it is a collection and analysis of data relating to the natural world by members of the general public. typically as part of a collaborative project with professional scientists.